In the last lesson, we dove right in and took a look at functions in action. We were using the create car example. Now for new users, this may have been a little overwhelming. So in this lesson, we're going to take a step back and take a look at some very simple examples of functions, how to write them, and how to use them in your code. So I'm going to create a new Python tab, and I'm going to create a very simple function. And this is just going to add two values together. To create a function, you'll first begin with the def keyword, def, followed by the name of the function. So in this case, I'm just going to use sum. We're going to be adding two values together. Next, I'll create open and close braces, followed by a colon. And this is the basic structure when you're first creating your function. It will always be the def keyword, followed by the name of your function with open and close braces, and you can have arguments inside of these braces, followed by a colon. And as you saw with loops and conditionals, you now need to have an indent that will define the block of code. So anything at this indent level or greater before we go back to the initial indent level will make up the function. Now this function is very simple. What we want to do is take two values and add them together and then print out the results on screen. And this is where function arguments will come in. So I need a way to pass in two values to my function. In Python, this is simple. I just need to pass in two argument names. So this is going to be value 1 and value 2. And the arguments are separated by a comma. I'm now free to use these arguments as I would any other variable inside of Python. And for this very simple function, I'm just going to be adding them together and storing them in the variable result. So result equals value 1 plus value 2. I can now print the results of this using the print function. I'm going to do my result, and then I'm going to print out the value stored in result. So I'll just use format result. When I execute this, nothing happens, however. And that's because I'm not actually calling my function. To do this, I'm just going to jump down, unindent, so I'm no longer inside of my function code block, and I'm going to call the function itself. To do this, I just have to give the name, which is sum, followed by open and close braces, and inside of those braces, I'm going to pass in two numbers for value 1 and value 2. So I'm just going to use 4 and 7. Now when I execute my code, I'll see that my result is being displayed in the output window. Something that's very important to keep in mind is that my function needs to be defined before it's called. So in this case, I'm defining the function sum before I call it in my code. When Python starts reading the code at the top and working its way down, it will find the sum function before an actual call to it. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to move my sum function above, and I'm going to change the name to sum not defined. When I try to call this now, and I execute the code, I'll get a name error, and that's just saying that sum not defined is not defined. And that's because I'm trying to call it before it's been defined in my code. If I move this down below and execute it now, I'll once again get my result as 11. Now, as I mentioned before, a function doesn't need to take in any arguments if it doesn't need them. For example, If I want to create a wrapper to display the Maya version, I can simply create a function. I'm going to call this Maya version. And this time it's just going to be open and close braces with nothing inside. I have to remember to use a colon at the end, followed by an indentation. Now, first I'm just going to import Maya commands. And now I'm going to call commands.about and version equals true. I can call this by simply calling Maya version and then execute the code. Now I'm not going to see anything, and this is because I don't have a print statement. So I'm just going to do print and then commands.about. Now when I execute the code, I can see that I'm running on the 64-bit version of Maya 2014. While this is a trivial example, it just demonstrates that you do not need to always pass in arguments to your function.